Hey guys, welcome to Rooted Truly, and today I'm going to show you a super easy, super simple ginger turmeric oil for the body, mainly if you have those aches, pains, inflammation, things of that nature. Now, what's going to make this easy for you is one particular thing, and that is we're going to make this with a crock pot. Okay, herbalism at home does not have to be complicated. As you guys know, I am a wife, I'm a mom, and most of all, I am a stay-at-home mom and a business owner. So I do not have time to babysit no oil, so put that in the sun and all that. No. So here's the thing about it. We're going to cut up our ginger. We're going to put it in a crock pot. We're going to cover that bad boy with oil, and then we're gonna let that thing rest. I'm going to show you guys step by step, but that's what's going to make this simple. If you are like me and you get backaches, because I worked about over 10 years in retail and I got a really bad complete back injury from top of the spine all the way down to my backbone, then you're probably hurting this time of year because it's the winter time. If you are like my husband, who used to be a hardcore athlete where he was playing 6 games a week when he was playing soccer, then you probably picked up some injuries and your bones probably hurt. If you're a millennial, your bones are probably hurting. So this is great for that. A couple of notes that I want to throw out there. Even though I'm using turmeric, usually what you would see is either ginger oil being made solely by itself, okay, with no additives, fairly simple, super inexpensive, no hassle. Me, I have to always put a little razzle dazzle in it, and because I'm adding turmeric, please keep in mind that it does stain. You see these white nails? When I was chopping it, these got stained, and it took a little bit of scrubbing and magic to get these things white again. So also keep that in mind. The third thing I want you to keep in mind is that if you do want to use herbs in this, the best one to use would be skullcap. What would be dope about using skullcap with it is that skullcap is great, especially if you have any nerve pain. So if you have pain in your body or inflammation in your body and it's nerve specific, then definitely find you a recipe that adds skullcap and ginger. The main reason I'm not using skullcap today is because I plan on cooking with this oil, which you can do. You can turn into salad dressing and all types of yummy things. But I plan on cooking with it, and I just don't want the earthiness of skullcap in my stuff. So let's get started on what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, so the recipe is fairly simple. You just need 2 cups of freshly chopped ginger. You need 3.5 cups of oil of choice. Some people use jojoba, some people use avocado oil. That's what I'm using today. And then most people will choose to use, of course, olive oil because of burn points and stuff like that. Now, the difference between my recipe and what other people do is I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of turmeric. So before I jump into why I'm adding turmeric, I want to tell you a couple of things before we really throw everything in the pot and I show you that. Number one, when you cut your ginger, make sure, some people, they like to grate it. That's not my thing. I like to chop it. You see the size of that? My general rule of thumb when it comes to ginger is just the thinner and the smaller it is, usually you get more from it. Same thing when you make ginger tea. It should be cut really thin, or as thin as possible, to help get all of the properties out of the root. The reason why I'm not a huge fan of grating the ginger is because when people tend to squeeze it, and so you're getting rid of a lot of things, and then 2, when it's grated, it has a lot of moisture that's coming out. When you chop fresh ginger, you're gonna see some, like some wetness on there, some moisture on there, and this is a very important step. When you cut your ginger, again, let me see if you guys can kind of see it up close. Do you see how dry that is? When you cut it, do not put it in your crock pot right away. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your ginger sits out for at least 2 hours. And when you see it dry, then it's ready to be used. The reason being is when you make this oil, after, and I'm going to tell you the length and all in a second, but when you make the oil, what you're going to see happen, you're going to put it in a mason jar or a glass jar or a glass container. When you do that, you have to let it sit, because water is going to come up from it. So the more water that you can get out of the ginger, the better. Now, quick tip, please do not use dried ginger if you just don't. If dried ginger is cheaper or you just don't have fresh ginger accessible to you for some reason, then okay, use dried ginger. The reason why I'm saying do not use dried ginger, but use fresh ginger. If you go to another video that I've done, and I'm going to reference it somewhere near the end, fresh ginger has a warming effect. Dried ginger tends to have a hot effect. So when you're thinking about that, think about how that's going to feel on your body. Okay, we want warming. We don't, if we're already in pain, we don't want it to be like our skin's burning too. We're just going to be miserable at that point. So do me a favor, go to an Asian market. Aldi sells ginger. Heck, if you have Sam's Club or Costco, they sell it in bulk, whatever. Go get you some fresh ginger root if you can. But again, if you can't, I understand. You can use dried ginger, but it's just not what I would recommend. All right, so now let's get this party started. Okay, so what you want to do first, and I'm sorry you guys can't see me, but I feel like it doesn't matter. You want to take your ginger and you just want to toss it on in there. Okay, put that over here to the side. Now again, I'm using turmeric. It's fresh turmeric root, which may be a little bit trickier to find depending. But that's also why, and I'm going to actually use more oil. So because it's usually, you know, about 3.5 cups of oil to 2 cups of ginger, and I'm adding half a cup of turmeric, I'm going to have a little bit more, oil than what you would typically use. I'm actually going to use this whole bottle, which is 33.8 ounces of avocado oil. Now you want to take this oil and you just want to pour the whole thing. Actually, let me make sure this is kind of layered in, and I'll show you guys what it'll look like after. And then you just want to pour all the oil until it's covered the entire thing. Now this is also important. I just wanted to show you what the lid looks like. You see how it's, you know, like a little bit creeped off a little bit, because you want the moisture, again we talked about that, right? You want the moisture to be escaped from the lid. Okay, so now that the lid is, you know, put a little bit of a jar and the crock pot is ready, we're going to make sure to put it on low. Okay, whatever your lowest setting is, put it on low, and we're gonna leave it for a full 48 hours. Now that doesn't mean you don't check on it. When you check on it, make sure that nothing is burning, that everything looks good. Don't really tamper with it if you don't have to, but your oil should stay in there. But yeah, leave it for 48 hours, and then we're gonna see in a couple days what it should look like in the rest of the process.